Fool's Carnival follows a ragtag troupe of misfit performers struggling to keep their dying carnival alive. Led by the ever-hopeful but worn-down ringmaster Sal Marconi, they wander from town to town, battling sabotage, debt, and their own chaotic dysfunctions. From explosive inventions to runaway clowns and shady deals, every day threatens disaster, but laughter, loyalty, and stubborn hope keep them standing. When a powerful businessman seeks to shut them down for good, the fools must unite, not just to save their carnival, but to prove that wonder still has a place in a world that's forgotten how to dream. The morning was a reluctant thing, grey and soggy, as the rattling carnival wagon crept into the outskirts of Milton. The wheels, metal-rimmed and whining against the cracked pavement, bore the faded colors of a once bright emblem, a grinning jester juggling flaming torches. Now, the flames looked more like smudges of soot, the jester's grin stretched thin and weary. Alongside the wagon, a motley procession of performers and staff spilled out, each dragging their own share of baggage, both literal and figurative. Salvador Marconi, tall and gaunt, with a top hat that had seen better decades, surveyed the scene with a mixture of grim amusement and stubborn hope. His patched ringmaster coat flapped in the chilly breeze, a ragged banner for the Fool's Carnival. Years of losses weighed on his shoulders, but his eyes still sparkled with the reckless optimism that had kept the carnival limping along. "All right, you beautiful fools," Sal called, climbing atop a battered wooden crate beside the wagon. His voice was rough, but carried the unmistakable cadence of a ringmaster used to commanding attention. "This town thinks it's seen all the entertainment it needs. We're here to prove them wrong, again." Maggie Mags O'Hara, short and athletic, her dark hair pulled tight into a practical bun, crossed her arms and shot him a skeptical look. "Sal, we've been rolling into towns like this for years. The crowds are shrinking, and the cops keep eyeing our permits like they're waiting to pounce." Sal grinned, sardonic but sincere. "And yet, here we are. The show must go on, Mags, always. Because if we don't, who will?" Around them, the troops set about their tasks. Eddie E.C. Collins, the eccentric inventor, was already crouched beneath a rickety contraption that looked like a cross between a Ferris wheel and a blender. Grease-stained fingers fiddled with wires and gears, his thick glasses slipping down his nose as he muttered to himself. Nearby, Lulu the clown bounced on oversized shoes, her bright makeup and patched costume a stark contrast to the peeling paint on the tents. Harold the snake Jenkins slinked through the group, his slicked back hair glinting in the weak sunlight. He eyed the makeshift booths, already plotting ways to turn a quick buck, no matter the cost. Betty, the quiet ticket seller, kept a watchful eye on the dwindling supplies, her mysterious past a silent shadow hanging over the carnival's fragile order. Tommy, the gentle giant strongman, helped hoist a sagging tent pole, his slow smile encouraging but tinged with exhaustion. Nina, the fortune teller, draped in flowing scarves, whispered cryptic predictions to no one in particular. The first attempt at drawing in a crowd was a rigged ring toss. Masterminded by Harold, they had hoped the game's illusion of easy wins would lure in the curious. Instead, it backfired spectacularly. A local boy caught onto the trick and loudly called out the scam, sending a ripple of laughter and derision through the sparse gathering. The few onlookers shuffled away, unimpressed and unamused. Maggie's temper flared. "Great. That's just great. Now they think we're thieves, not performers." Sal sighed but softened. "It's a rough start. Happens every time. But that's why we keep trying." As afternoon bled into evening, the troupe gathered for a lackluster performance under the main tent. The faded lights flickered, and the sound system crackled with static. Sal took center stage, his voice booming with practiced enthusiasm. Yet the crowd's polite claps felt more like a merciful gesture than genuine applause. Lulu tried to salvage the mood with a pratfall, but her oversized shoes caught a loose rope, sending a cluster of colorful balloons tumbling into a heap of dirty canvas. The troupe exchanged wary glances, torn between frustration and laughter. It was, in many ways, a perfect mirror of the carnival itself, chaotic, flawed, but undeniably alive. As the night deepened and the crowd thinned, Sal lingered a moment longer beneath the flickering lights. He glanced at his troupage, a patchwork of quirks, and scars, and felt the familiar tug of hope. They were fools, perhaps, but fools who refused to quit. "Tomorrow," he muttered, half to himself, "we try again." And so the Fools' Carnival settled into Milltown, a circus of misfits clinging to a dream that danced just beyond reach. In the shadows of peeling tents and rusting rides, amid the scent of stale popcorn and sawdust, their story began, Unawan, absurd. Hopeful farce played out beneath the indifferent stars. The sun dipped low behind the cracked and faded tents of the Fools' Carnival, casting long shadows that stretched across the uneven dirt lot like weary fingers. The air was thick with the mingled scents of stale popcorn, sawdust, and something vaguely metallic, perhaps the remnants of last night's failed fire-eating act. As the troupe gathered beneath the sagging canvas of the main tent, the first notes of discord began to hum quietly beneath the surface of their shared dream. Salvador Marconi, the carnival's indefatigable ringmaster, stood tall despite the weariness clinging to his gaunt frame. His patched coat, once a dazzling red, now a mosaic of faded fabric and hastily sewn patches, billowed slightly in the evening breeze. Perched atop his head was the battered top hat that had become his crown and shield against the world's indifference. He tapped a piece of chalk against a grimy blackboard, its surface scarred by years of half-erased plans and hopeful slogans. "All right, team," Sal began, his voice carrying a theatrical flourish that belied the sinking feeling in his gut. "We've got to think bigger, bolder. The usual rigged games and tired tricks won't cut it anymore. We need something fresh, something spectacular, something that will make the townsfolk flock to our gates like moths to a flame." Maggie O'Hara, arms crossed and brow furrowed, leaned against a leaning pole, the muscles in her short frame taut like a coiled spring. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, strands escaping only when her temper flared. "Spectacular," she repeated, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Like last time's spectacular, when your brilliant plan turned the dunk tank into a swamp and scared off half the kids." Sal gave her a sidelong grin, unshaken. "Details, details. Every great show has its mishaps. It builds character. Character doesn't pay the bills, Sal." Maggie shot back, eyes flashing. "Neither does your endless optimism." The room seemed to tighten around them, the air charged with the friction of opposing forces. Sal's idealism, a fragile balloon inflated by hope, met Maggie's grounded pragmatism, sharp and unyielding as shattered glass. Before the tension could escalate further, a low sputtering noise interrupted the exchange. Eddie Collins, the carnival's resident inventor and technician, crouched nearby amidst a chaotic tangle of wires, gears, and odd bits of metal scavenged from forgotten junkyards. His thick glasses were smeared with grease, and his wild hair stuck out in every direction as if charged by static electricity. "Almost ready," Eddie murmured to himself, oblivious to the charged atmosphere. "Just need to adjust the timing on the sprocket under. There." He gave a triumphant twist to a knob, and the contraption whirred to life, emitting a series of clanks and sputters that quickly escalated into a wheezy whistle. Nearby, Lulu the clown bounded through the scene like a whirlwind of color, her oversized shoes squeaking against the wooden planks. Her face, painted with bright white makeup and exaggerated red lips, was alight with mischief and childlike glee. She juggled a trio of rubber chickens, honking each one as it left her hands, her laughter ringing clear and infectious. "Watch this, gang," Lulu called, launching into a slapstick routine that involved a pie, a bucket of confetti, and an unfortunately placed stack of carnival prizes. With a dramatic flourish, she slipped on a banana peelan, actual banana peel, salvaged from a vendor's cart, and sent the confetti flying into the air. The shower of colorful bits rained down, obscuring a teetering tower of stuffed animals that collapsed with a thunderous crash. "Lulu," Maggie groaned, rushing to steady the toppled prizes. "You're going to get us shut down." Lulu grinned, undeterred. "But at least they're laughing." Sal chuckled, despite himself, the corners of his mouth twitching upward. "See, chaos has its charm." The troops' interactions unfolded like a circus within a circus, a kaleidoscope of clashing hopes and clumsy camaraderie. Sal's endless optimism pushed them forward, a beacon in the fog of their perpetual struggle. Maggie's sharp tongue and quick reflexes kept the group tethered to reality, even as she fought against the weight of her own cynicism. Eddie's inventions promised salvation, even if they came wrapped in sparks and smoke. Lulu's infectious joy, though a source of chaos, reminded them all of why they endured. As dusk deepened into night, the carnival took on an aura both melancholic and magical. The flickering string lights cast dancing shadows on peeling paint and fraying tents, while the distant hoot of an owl punctuated the murmurs of the troops' heated debate. "Maybe Sal's right," Eddie said softly, wiping grease from his hands. "Maybe we do need something spectacular. Something truly ours." Maggie snorted, folding her arms tighter. "Or maybe we just need to stop tripping over our own feet." Sal's eyes twinkled beneath his battered top hat. "Either way, we keep moving, because if we don't, who will?" The evening ended not with resolution, but with the promise of more chaos, more clashes, and more laughter. The Fool's Carnival was a mess, a beautiful, absurd mess, and its performers were bound together by something stubborn and unbreakable. The shared dream that kept them spinning on, no matter how many times they fell. As the troupe dispersed to their various corners of the carnival, the sound of Lulu's honking laughter echoed once more, a joyful defiance against the gathering night. Somewhere in the distance, a wheel creaked, and a faint melody from a broken calliope wavered on the Brisa ragtag symphony for the fools who dared to dream. And so, beneath the patchwork sky, the carnival breathed, alive with quirks and quarrels, its heart beating erratically but fiercely, ready to face whatever chaos tomorrow might bring. So, Sal mused aloud, to no one in particular, breaking the fourth wall with a sardonic smile. What could possibly go wrong next? The answer, as always, was everything. The sun had barely begun to dip behind the tired horizon when the Fool's Carnival, a motley collection of faded tents and flickering neon bulbs, buzzed with a nervous energy. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight, Sal Marconi's big plan to rig the ring toss game was set to turn the tide. The carnival, as always, was more a jumble of hopeful chaos than well-oiled machinery. But there was a brittle optimism in the air, like the tentative first notes of a song that might just catch fire. Sal stood tall beside the ring toss booth, his gaunt figure framed by the patchwork glow of neon lights struggling against the dusk. His eyes scanned the sparse crowd, families wondering uncertainly, teenagers daring each other to try their luck, the occasional lonely wanderer drawn in by the promise of a distraction from their day-to-day drudgery. His patched ringmaster coat flapped slightly in the cool breeze, the top hat perched at a rakish angle. He gave the nod, a flicker of a sardonic smile tugging at his lips. "All right, Harold," he whispered, "make it work." Harold, the Snake Jenkins, slicked back hair gleaming under the neon, was already at work. His shifty eyes darted as he expertly adjusted the bottles, setting them ever so slightly off-centered, just enough to make the rings land with a deceptive ease for the right players. He was the Carnival's hustler, the man who could talk his way past suspicion or, if need be, cover a mess with a wink and a crooked smile. Tonight, he was the key to their salvation. Maggie O'Hara, ever the pragmatist, lingered nearby, arms crossed, watching the preparations with a wary eye. Her short, athletic frame was poised for action, dark hair tied back to keep her vision clear. She didn't trust these schemes, never had, but she understood their necessity. The Carnival needed a win, a spark to ignite the dwindling interest. But Maggie's instincts, honed on the unforgiving streets of her past, whispered caution. The crowd began to gather, the hum of chatter blending with the scent of buttered popcorn and the distant calliope music. Lulu the clown, adorned in her bright makeup and oversized shoes, bounced about with childlike glee, juggling rubber chickens and throwing exaggerated smiles. She was the heart of the Carnival's charm, even if her clumsiness sometimes added to the chaos rather than alleviating it. As the first customers approached the rigged ring toss, Harold leaned in, whispering instructions to select players while Sal narrated with a flourish, his voice booming to draw attention. The rings flew through the air, arcing perfectly, landing with satisfying clinks against the bottles. Cheers erupted, and for a moment, it seemed the plan was working. Money flowed in, pockets jingled with the small profits. But then, as fate would have it, Lulu's enthusiastic antics took a disastrous turn. In her eagerness to entertain, she tripped over a loose cable, sending a cascade of bottles crashing to the ground with a thunderous clatter. The crowd gasped, laughter turning quickly to murmurs of suspicion. Eyes narrowed, whispers spread like wildfire. The rigged game was outed in the most spectacular fashion. Maggie's sharp gaze caught the shift immediately. "Sal, this isn't good," she muttered, stepping forward to contain the damage. But the damage was done. The crowd began to disperse, their trust evaporating as fast as the spilled soda from the cracked bottles. Harold, sensing the shifting tide, slipped into the shadows, quickly weaving a web of half-truths and promises to a local official who had been eyeing the Carnival with increasing skepticism. The dim tent where they met smelled of cheap tobacco and stale beer, and Harold's voice was low and urgent. "Just a little hiccup," he assured, "nothing that can't be fixed." Back outside, Sal stood alone at the edge of the now empty lot. The rain had started, cold drops dotting his top hat, his usual sardonic grin faltering as he watched the flickering neon bulbs blink helplessly in the damp air. The humiliation stung, but beneath it was the familiar pulse of stubborn hope. The Carnival was a ship battered by storms, but it still floated. The night ended not with triumph, but with a hard lesson, one that would test the troops' resolve and their fragile unity. Would they crumble under the weight of failure, or find in this slip-up the fuel to rise again? The question hung heavy, but Sal's voice, breaking the fourth wall with its usual sardonic edge, promised the story was far from over. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to no one but the night itself, "sometimes the best show is the one you never planned." And with that, the Fool's Carnival braced itself for whatever absurd disaster came next. The sun dipped low behind the dusty horizon as the rattling caravan wheels came to a reluctant halt on the uneven ground of the small town's outskirts. The Fool's Carnival had arrived once again, its faded banners fluttering weakly in the dry wind. But this time, the air was thick with an unfamiliar tension, as if the dust itself whispered warnings of an impending storm. Salvador Marconi, tall and gaunt, stepped down from his battered wagon, the hem of his patched ringmaster coat brushing against the rough earth. His top hat, slightly crooked from the journey, seemed to carry the weight of years spent chasing a dream that never quite caught fire. Yet his eyes sparkled with the same reckless optimism that had kept the carnival alive through countless failures. As the troop gathered, sorting out the tangle of ropes and faded tents, a sleek black car rolled slowly onto the grounds, its tires hissing against the gravel. The vehicle's glossy paint reflected the setting sun, a stark contrast to the carnival's peeling paint and creaking wood. The car door opened with a practiced smoothness, and out stepped Victor Langford, the man whose arrival would mark a turning point none of them could ignore. Victor was every inch the polished businessman, his tailored suit crisp and dark, a sharp contrast to the carnival's motley crew. His shoes tapped authoritatively on the gravel, each step measured and deliberate. A smile, too perfect to be genuine, played on his lips as he surveyed the carnival like a man appraising outdated merchandise. "Good evening," Victor announced, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge. "I'm here on behalf of the town's investors. We've been reviewing the future of this space, and it's clear that the Fool's Carnival, while charming in a nostalgic sort of way, is no longer viable." Murmurs rippled through the troop. Maggie Maggs O'Hara's brow furrowed, her arms crossing tightly over her athletic frame. She had seen too many things go wrong to buy into platitudes. "Viable or not, it's our home," she snapped, her voice sharp. "And we're not just going to roll over because some suited suit says so." Sal stepped forward, hands raised in a calming gesture, his voice carrying the flair of a ringmaster but edged with sincerity. "Victor, we understand change is part of progress, but the Fool's Carnival is more than just rides and games. It's a livelihood, a family, a story that's been told through generations. We're not just a business, we're a community." Victor's smile tightened imperceptibly. "I appreciate your passion, Sal, truly. But the investors see an opportunity to bring modern entertainment to corporate amusement park with all the bells and whistles. It's a step into the future for this town." Lulu the clown, bright makeup and oversized shoes catching the last rays of light, bounced forward with a cheerful grin, juggling colorful balls in an attempt to break the tension. Who needs bells and whistles when you have pies and pratfalls? Her light-heartedness was met with a few reluctant chuckles, but Victor's gaze barely flickered. Nearby, Harold the Snake Jenkins lurked in the shadows, his slicked-back hair glinting. He whispered into a phone, weaving his own web of schemes as the carnival's fate hung in the balance. Inside the main tent, the worn canvas sagged under the weight of years and neglect, casting long shadows over the gathered troop. Sal paced before them, his voice rising with fervor. "We've been down before, but this time, it's different. This isn't just about money. It's about keeping our art alive against a world that wants to turn us into a footnote. We have to fight not with fists, but with heart, with the chaos and joy that only our carnival can bring." Maggie's skepticism softened just a fraction as she listened to Sal's plea. The troop exchanged uncertain glances, the bonds of their found family stretching but not breaking. Outside, Victor made calls to local officials, setting wheels in motion to tighten regulations and impose bureaucratic hurdles. The carnival's permits were questioned, their outdated equipment suddenly a liability. The pressure mounted And with every obstacle, the troupe felt the weight of an uncertain future pressing down on their shoulders. Yet amidst the mounting threat, small acts of resilience flickered. Lulu's laughter echoed through the grounds, a balm to frayed nerves. Harold's dubious deals brought in much-needed cash, however tainted, and Sal's relentless optimism, though sometimes bordering on delusion, kindled a fragile hope. As night fell and the carnival lights flickered to life dim and flickering like a heartbeat, struggling to keep pace, the troupe gathered for a late meeting. Sal's eyes shone with determined fire. We're fools, sure, but fools with a dream worth fighting for. Tomorrow, we start planning. We don't let this place die without a fight. Maggie nodded, the hard edge of her cynicism giving way to a resolute glimmer. Let them come. We'll show them what real chaos looks like. The carnival's future was uncertain, hanging by a thread woven from desperation, hope, and the stubborn refusal to surrender. And as the troupe dispersed into the night, the faint strains of a battered calliope played on, a melancholic tune for the fight to come. But as Sal glanced at the darkened sky, he couldn't help but wonder, was hope enough to keep the Fool's Carnival alive when the world was determined to move on without them? The morning air was thick with the scent of damp canvas and machine oil as Eddie E.C. Collins wheeled his latest creation out from the shadows of the dilapidated storage tent. The carnival was stirring slowly, a motley collection of tents and faded banners flapping listlessly in the gentle breeze. The troupe gathered around, their faces etched with a mixture of skepticism and faint hope. Sal Marconi, the gaunt ringmaster with his patched coat and top hat, stood front and center, his eyes gleaming with a spark of unyielding optimism. "Ladies and gentlemen," Eddie began, his voice trembling slightly beneath the weight of the moment, "I give you the future of the Fool's Carnival, the whirlwind wonder." He threw a dramatic arm over the contraption, a rickety assembly of gears, pistons, flashing bulbs, and what looked suspiciously like repurposed bicycle parts. The machine hissed and clanked, lights flickering erratically, and a faint smell of burnt oil wafted up, mingling with the dusty carnival air. Maggie O'Hara folded her arms, her dark eyes narrowing. "Looks like a death trap," she muttered under her breath, though a flicker of curiosity betrayed her cynicism. Lulu the clown bounced excitedly on her oversized shoes, her colorful patched costume swaying as she clapped her hands in delight. Harold the Snake Jenkins, leaning against a tilted game booth, gave a slow, calculating smile. If this thing works, it could be a goldmine. If it doesn't, he shrugged, well, at least it'll be entertaining. Eddie adjusted his thick glasses and wiped grease from his forehead. "Trust me, this baby will turn heads and open wallets. Just watch." With a hopeful flourish, he pulled a lever. The machine roared to life with a cacophony of clanks, whistles, and grinding gears. The whirlwind wonder jolted forward, its flashing lights casting wild shadows on the tired carnival tents. For a moment, a hush fell over the troupe and the sparse onlookers who had gathered. Then, with a horrifying screech, the contraption lurched violently. A cloud of smoke and sparks erupted as the gears jammed and pistons slammed erratically. The machine careened into a nearby vendor's cart, sending a cascade of peeling fruit and broken crates tumbling. Lulu let out a startled squeal as she was knocked into a pile of colorful balloons, bursting into laughter despite the chaos. Sal dashed forward, his patched coat flapping behind him like a flag of defiance. "Hold tight, everyone, we're still in the show," he shouted, rallying the troupe with his usual sardonic charm. Maggie lunged to steady Lulu, who giggled through the dust and flashes of color. Eddie stood frozen, grease-streaked and wide-eyed, the weight of failure crashing over him. But beneath the embarrassment, a stubborn pride glimmered. "It's not broken," he insisted, voice cracking. "Just needs a little tweaking." The troupe quickly set about damage control. Harold helped clear the wreckage with slick efficiency, while Sal coordinated repairs with a mixture of urgency and hope. Despite the calamity, the shared experience knit them closer, their laughter mingling with groans and the clatter of hurried work. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the battered carnival grounds, the troupe gathered around the ruined machine. The air was thick with the bittersweet scent of burnt rubber and faded dreams, but also the unmistakable warmth of camaraderie. For all their failures, for all the chaos and calamity, the Fool's Carnival endured not because of grand inventions or slick schemes, but because of the ragtag family that refused to quit. And Eddie, still clutching a greasy wrench, looked around at his friends and thought, maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning. The whirlwind wonder might have exploded, but the spirit it ignited within the troupe was far from broken. The real show, it seemed, was just getting started. The evening air hung heavy with a mixture of humidity and anticipation as the Fool's Carnival settled into its usual rhythm, albeit a bit more frayed around the edges than usual. Twilight bled into the sky, painting the worn tents in dusky pinks and purples. Maggie O'Hara stood near the edge of the midway, her sharp gaze scanning the crowd with an intensity that belied her athletic frame. The familiar creak and groan of the aging rides melded with the sporadic laughter of the few passing townsfolk, painting a scene both melancholic and alive. It was then that she saw him, a silhouette too familiar to ignore, a figure leaning against the chipped paint of the carousel's faded horse, eyes fixed silently on the worn carnival banner fluttering in the warm breeze. Heart pounding, Maggie felt a rush of memories flood her senses, the cold nights on the streets she had escaped, the bitter words exchanged long ago, the reasons she had run. The man's presence was a jolt, a ghost from a past she had tried to bury beneath layers of cynicism and hard-won survival. Salvador Marconi noticed her tension immediately. Tall and gaunt, his patched ringmaster coat seemed to swallow his slender frame, and his top hat sat at a rakish angle. He approached with his usual sardonic grin, his voice cutting through the gathering dusk. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Mags. Or maybe just someone from the last disaster." His eyes twinkled with a mix of humor and genuine concern. "Care to share?" Maggie forced a tight smile, shaking her head. "Just an old acquaintance, nothing to worry about." But Sal was not easily convinced. Nothing's ever just nothing around here. You know that. Meanwhile, Lulu, the clown-bright makeup smeared eccentrically across her face, oversized shoes thudding comically on the wooden planks, was weaving through the midway with her trademark mischievous grin. She juggled a cluster of balloons with less grace than usual, sending a cascade of colorful orbs into the twilight sky. The children nearby squealed with delight, but the unintended chaos left a trail of toppled stands and scattered popcorn. Still, in her childish exuberance, Lulu managed to lift the carnival's spirits, her laughter a bright note against the backdrop of worn canvas and frayed dreams. Backstage, the troupe was gathering beneath the cracked marquee light, its flickering glow casting long, wavering shadows. Sal's voice rose above the rustling canvas and muffled chatter, rallying the performers with a mix of sardonic humor and genuine warmth. "All right, fools," he began, eyes gleaming with that peculiar mix of hope and desperation that defined him. "Tonight, we hold on. Not just to the tent poles or the rigged games, but to each other. Because if there's one thing this carnival's good at, it's surviving the impossible." The troupe responded with nods and murmurs, their faces a patchwork of exhaustion and resolve. Maggie's eyes softened as she took in the scene, the found family she had chosen, flawed and fragile, but fiercely loyal. Later, beneath the marquee's cracked light, Maggie found herself face to face with the man from her past. The air between them was thick with unspoken history, the scent of popcorn and sawdust mingling with something more primal: fear, regret, and the tentative stirrings of forgiveness. Words were exchanged, cautious and sharp, each syllable a step towards understanding or further fracture. "You didn't have to come back," Maggie said quietly, the edge in her voice betraying her vulnerability. "Neither did you," he replied, voice rough but not unkind. "But here we are." The tension was palpable, but beneath it lay a fragile thread of connection, a possibility that the past might not dictate the future. As the night deepened, the carnival pulsed with its usual blend of chaos and camaraderie. Lulu's laughter echoed through the tents, a reminder that even in the midst of disorder, joy could be found. Sal's sardonic asides kept spirits buoyed, while Maggie allowed herself, just a little, to hope again. The Fool's Carnival was far from perfect, fraught with disaster and dashed dreams, but tonight, it was alive with the messy, beautiful chaos of survival. And as Maggie looked around at her troupe, at the flickering lights and the shadows dancing on the canvas walls, she knew that no matter what ghosts haunted her past, she was no longer alone. As the first tentative stars appeared overhead, the carnival held its breath, poised between the wreckage of what had been and the uncertain promise of what might come next. The night was far from over, and the fools were ready to face it together. The evening air was thick with the smell of stale popcorn and damp canvas as the carnival lights flickered and sputtered, casting long shadows across the faded banners and crooked booths of the Fool's Carnival. Sal Marconi stood just beyond the ticket booth, his gaunt frame outlined in the dim glow, eyes narrowed in cautious calculation. Behind him, the distant murmur of townsfolk drifting away from a lackluster game mingled with the creak of old wood and the faint clatter of carnival music, half-hearted, but still clinging to the hope of charm. Sal's gaze locked on a figure slinking through the shadows, Harold Jenkins, known to everyone as the Snake, not just for his slicked back hair and shifty eyes, but for the way he slipped through the troops' defenses, always angling for a quick buck. Tonight, however, Harold's usual confident swagger seemed instead edged with nervous calculation. Sal's voice cut through the chilly air, low and sharp. "Harold, we need to talk now." Harold paused, hands stuffed into the pockets of his cheap suit, eyes darting left and right like a cornered rat. "Sal," he said, voice oily smooth, "ain't nothing to worry about. Just making sure the carnival keeps spinning, you know." "Cut the crap," Sal snapped, stepping closer. "We know about the rigged games you've been running behind our backs, the money disappearing from the till. You're bleeding us dry, and the troops trust with it." Harold's smile flickered, unease creeping in. "Look, it's just business. You think I'm the only one trying to keep this sinking ship afloat?" Sal shook his head, frustration and disappointment simmering beneath his usual sardonic exterior. "We survive together, or we don't survive at all. You're risking everything for a few quick dollars. That's not business, it's betrayal." Meanwhile, the dressing area buzzed with quiet unrest. Maggie O'Hara stormed through the cramped space, her short, athletic frame tense with barely restrained anger. Her voice, sharp and commanding, sliced through the murmurs. "Harold, you've been selling us out. How long were you planning to keep your little side deals a secret?" Harold's eyes narrowed, but beneath the bravado, a flicker of guilt betrayed him. "I'm doing what I have to. This carnival's a dead man walking, and I'm just trying to get mine before the whole thing collapses." "You're tearing us apart," Maggie shot back, fists clenched. "We're supposed to be a family, not marks for your scams." The tension was palpable, a fragile thread threatening to snap. Into the charged atmosphere stumbled Lulu the clown, her oversized shoes clumping against the wooden floor as she juggled a trio of brightly colored balls. Her painted smile was wide, but eyes flickered with concern. Hey, let's not let a little snake bite ruin the show, okay?" Her antics brought a brief, uneasy chuckle, a momentary bomb to the troops' fraying nerves. But the damage was done. Whispers circled like vultures. Trust was a currency rapidly depleting. In a shadowed corner, Eddie Collins fiddled nervously with a half-assembled contraption, the clinking of metal parts echoing in the silence. His greasy hands trembled slightly as he tightened a bolt, eyes glancing up at the heated exchanges. He wanted to contribute, to build something that could hold them together. But tonight, even his inventions seemed powerless against human fracture. Sal's mind raced. Confronting Harold publicly risked splitting the troop irreparably. Ignoring the betrayal would doom them all. He needed a plan that balanced justice with pragmatism, a way to salvage both the man and the fragile finances. "Harold," Sal said quietly, stepping away from the others and pulling him towards the edge of the carnival grounds. "I'm giving you one chance to come clean and help fix this mess. Because if you don't, this carnival and everything we've fought for will fall apart. And I don't want to be the one who has to shut it all down." Harold hesitated, then met Sal's steady gaze. "All right," he said finally, "I'm in. But this isn't over." Back with the troop, Maggie's anger simmered into reluctant acceptance. Trust, she knew, wasn't something easily repaired, but survival demanded it. Lulu's laughter resumed, softer now, weaving through the tension like a fragile thread of hope. As the night deepened, the carnival's lights flickered on, uncertain but unyielding, much like the troop themselves. The road ahead was riddled with challenges, but for now, they were still together. Sal glanced toward the horizon, breaking the fourth wall with a sardonic half-smile. In the grand circus of life, fools and snakes often dance on the same tightrope. Let's just hope we don't all fall off tonight. And with that uneasy truce hanging in the air, the carnival exhaled a weary breath and prepared for whatever the next act might bring. The morning broke with a hesitant light, pale and unsure, as if the sky itself was wary of what the day might bring. Beneath it, the fool's carnival stirs slowly. A ragtag family roused from their restless slumber by the call of duty and the stubborn hope lodged in the heart of their ringmaster, Salvador Sal Marconi. Sal, tall and gaunt in his patched ringmaster coat and top hat, was already pacing the uneven dirt patch they called their grounds, eyes gleaming with a mix of determination and delirium. The centerpiece of their survival, the main tent lay folded like a giant, wrinkled beast upon the earth, its canvas faded and spattered with years of rain and dust. "All right, you beautiful fools," Sal announced, his voice carrying a theatrical flair that made even the most cynical among them smirk. "Today, we raise the heart of this carnival. The big tent, the showstopper, the dreamcatcher." Mags O'Hara, short and athletic with her dark hair tied back in a no-nonsense ponytail, rolled her eyes but didn't argue. She was already moving toward the heavy ropes, her fingers nimble and sure despite the chill that bit at her skin. "Dreamcatcher, huh? Just don't let it catch the rain again like last time," she muttered, hauling a coil of rope over her shoulder. Eddie E.C. Collins appeared next, his messy hair nearly a halo of chaos itself, thick glasses perched precariously on his nose, grease stains decorating his perpetually rumpled clothes. Clutching a bundle of pulleys and metal hooks, he trailed behind with a distracted enthusiasm. "I've been tinkering with the rigging system," he called out, nearly tripping over a tent peg. "This time, it'll be safer and more dynamic." "Dynamic is a word for things that don't fall apart," Sal quipped, eliciting a chuckle from Lulu the clown, who bounced forward juggling 3 brightly colored balls, her oversized shoes squeaking softly on the packed dirt. Her face was painted in cheerful hues, a stark contrast to the muted surroundings, a splash of joy in a sea of struggle. Harold the Snake Jenkins lingered near the ticket booth, eyeing the proceedings with a shifty grin and calculating eyes. His cheap suit was a little too bright against the Carnival's weathered palette, but his presence was oddly reassuring in a twisted way. He was the one who could sometimes scrape together the funds that kept the lights flickering. Betty, quiet and efficient, stood behind her booth, meticulously keeping the books despite the meager sales. Tommy, the gentle giant strongman, hefted heavy stakes with surprising delicacy, his slow smile encouraging those around him. Nina, draped in colorful scarves, embroidered with stars and moons, moved with an enigmatic grace, offering cryptic words of luck and protection as she surveyed the group. Together, they formed a motley crew of misfits, united by a dream that refused to die despite years of running on fumes and spilled popcorn. The work was back-breaking and riddled with near mishaps. Maggie scaled the tallest poles with the agility of a cat, securing ropes with practiced precision even as a sudden gust threatened to rip the canvas from their grasp. Lulu's laughter bubbled through the tense air as she juggled and slipped on the loose dirt, narrowly avoiding disaster while lightening the mood. "Careful, Lulu," Maggie called out, eyes sharp but lips twitching in reluctant amusement. Eddie, meanwhile, was absorbed in his contraption, occasionally muttering to himself and chasing after a pulley that slipped free, only to be caught by Sal's quick hands and a wry comment about his timing. Hours passed, the sun climbing higher and casting long shadows as the tent slowly rose from the earth like a sleeping giant waking from a long, troubled slumber. The scent of damp canvas mingled with the sweat and dirt of honest labor, creating an aroma that was as much a part of the carnival as the popcorn stands and faded posters. At last, with a final concerted heave, the last panel of the tent was pulled taut, secured firmly by stakes driven deep into the soil. A sudden gust of wind swept through, sending a ripple through the canvas that looked like a wave frozen in time. The troop stepped back, breathing hard, faces flushed with exertion and pride. Sal swept an arm wide, his voice ringing out, "Behold, the heart of the Fool's Carnival." Cheers and laughter erupted, a sound that felt like a bomb to the weary souls gathered beneath the sky. For a moment, they were more than failures and misfits. They were a family, a team bound by absurdity and affection. As twilight descended, they gathered around a crackling campfire near the tent's edge. The warmth of the flames flickered across their faces, casting dancing shadows that seemed to chase away the ghosts of past disappointments. Maggie's guarded smile softened in the firelight. Eddie's eyes sparkled with newfound determination, and even Harold's shifty gaze held a hint of sincere hope. Sal, never one to miss a chance for a show, leaned forward and broke the fourth wall with a sardonic grin. "You see," he said, eyes twinkling with mischief and melancholy, "this tent is more than canvas and poles. It's our sanctuary, our battlefield, and our stage. It's where the fools dance, dream, and sometimes, just sometimes, survive." Outside, the tent flaps rustled softly in the night breeze, a whispering promise of the chaos and laughter yet to come. The carnival's heart beat on, fragile but fierce, ready to face another day. And so, under the watchful stars, the Fool's Carnival held its breath, poised on the edge of hope and chaos, united in their foolish, beautiful endeavor. The morning dawned grey and unpromising, as if the weather itself conspired with Victor Langford's growing campaign against the Fool's Carnival. Sal Marconi, standing outside the main tent with his usual patched coat buttoned tight against the chill, squinted up at the sky and muttered a sardonic aside to the invisible audience he imagined watching him. "If the rain doesn't kill us, the paperwork surely will," he said, a wry smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Inside the cramped Carnival office, Maggie O'Hara paced like a caged animal. The cluttered room smelled of stale coffee and dust, papers strewn across every surface. She slammed a thick stack of permits and notices onto the desk, the sound echoing sharply in the tense silence. "Rejected," she growled, scanning the official stamps in red ink. "Again, no fire safety certification, they say. The town's inspectors are dragging their feet, probably on Langford's orders." Harold the Snake Jenkins lounged in the corner, his shifty eyes flicking between Maggie and Sal. The cheap suit on his lanky frame somehow managing to look more threadbare by the minute. "Maybe we can grease a few palms," he suggested with a sly grin, fingers twitching nervously. Maggie shot him a glare that could cut glass. "Not this time, Harold. We're stretched thin already." Sal stepped inside, his tall frame filling the doorway as he tried to inject some levity. "Well, if we can't get permits, maybe we can just put on the show in the parking lot. Who needs bureaucrats when you have charm and tenacity?" His optimism was infectious, but Maggie's eyes told a different story, one of exhaustion and mounting pressure. Meanwhile, beyond the dusty perimeter of the carnival, Victor Langford sat in his sleek black car, the leather interior cool and immaculate. His fingers tapped rhythmically against the steering wheel as he made a call. "Hold off on the permits," he instructed smoothly. "Let them sweat a little longer. The sooner they fold, the better." His unsettling smile flickered briefly before vanishing into a mask of corporate composure. Back at the Carnival workshop, the air buzzed with frantic energy. Eddie Collins knelt over a stubborn mechanical contraption, curious hybrid of gears, pulleys, and flashing lights he insisted would be the next big attraction. His greasy fingers fumbled with a loose bolt as Lulu the clown bounded in, her oversized shoes squeaking on the wooden floor. With a gleeful whoop, she sent a cascade of colorful props tumbling to the ground. "Lulu, careful," Eddie exclaimed, brushing off grease and bits of confetti. "I'm this close to a breakthrough." But Lulu just giggled, her bright makeup smeared slightly from the chaos. "Breakthroughs are messy, Eddie. You gotta expect a little fun along the way." Maggie appeared at the doorway, arms crossed. "Fun's great, Lulu, but we've got real problems. The rigging on the main tent's frayed, the generators are acting up, and the permits are a nightmare. We can't afford another disaster." Eddie sighed, pushing his thick glasses up the bridge of his nose. "I'm on it, but the truth is, we're running out of time and options." As the day wore on, the carnival felt like a pressure cooker. Every attempt to fix one problem seemed to unleash another. The generators sputtered and died during a test run, sending the lights flickering into darkness. The main tent's frayed ropes threatened to unravel under the strain of the wind. Maggie coordinated frantic repairs with a sharp tongue and steady hands, barking orders and smoothing frayed nerves. Sal, meanwhile, tried to buoy the troop's spirits, his voice ringing out with theatrical flair as he addressed the scattered performers. "Remember, my friends, the show must go on. And if it doesn't, well, there's always next town." His humor was a salve, though even he couldn't ignore the heavy weight pressing on his chest. Late afternoon brought a brief moment of calm. The troop gathered around a small fire pit behind the main tent, the smell of wood smoke mingling with popcorn and stale beer. Lulu juggled flaming torches, eliciting delighted laughs despite the tension. Harold nursed a bruised ego after a failed scheme, while Eddie shared his tentative progress on the invention. Maggie caught Sal's eye and gave a small nod of approval. They were holding together, fragile, imperfect, but together. But as night fell, the shadow of Victor Langford loomed larger. The subtle sabotage that delayed permits, the rigged inspections, the mysterious equipment failures was wearing at the troops' resilience. Yet in the face of it all, a stubborn spark of hope flickered. The Fool's Carnival might be battered, but it was far from beaten. Sal's voice broke the night's stillness once more, a sardonic whisper to his invisible audience. They say the house always wins. Well, maybe the fools have learned to cheat the odds a little. The chapter closed on that tenuous balance between chaos and order, despair and hope, sabotage and survival. The carnival's fate hung in the balance, but the troop's spirit refused to bow. And somewhere in the dark, Victor Langford's smile widened, knowing the game was far from over. The morning sun stretched its pale fingers over the faded tents of the Fool's Carnival, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with anticipation. Lulu the clown was already up, her oversized shoes thumping a clumsy rhythm on the cracked wooden planks of the carnival's main walkway, with cheeks painted in rosy circles and a bright red nose perched precariously on her face. She was a beacon of cheerfulness in a world teetering on the edge of collapse. Salvador Sal Marconi watched her from a distance, his gaunt frame silhouetted against the dawn. His patched ringmaster coat fluttered slightly in the morning breeze, and his top hat sat at a jaunty angle. "There goes Lulu," he muttered to himself, a sardonic smile tugging at his lips. Bringer of joy and chaos, often indistinguishable. The day promised little peace. Lulu, in her usual spirited fashion, was determined to stir up excitement. But excitement, as the troop knew all too well, often came wrapped in mishaps. Without warning, Lulu's attention was snagged by the old clown cart parked near the entrance, rickety contraption festooned with faded balloons and peeling paint. With a mischievous glint in her eye, she clambered aboard to prepare for her latest prank. However, her oversized shoes slipped on the worn pedals, sending the cart hurtling forward without control. The cart careened wildly down the main path, wheels screeching against wooden boards, knocking over a stack of juggling pins and sending a cascade of colorful balls bouncing across the dusty ground. Spectators gasped and scattered, some shrieking in surprise, others laughing nervously. Lulu, caught between terror and exhilaration, flailed her arms, trying to regain control. "Lulu?" Sal shouted, rushing forward, but the cart was already weaving dangerously close to the tent where Maggie was practicing her acrobatics. With a nimble leap, Maggie dodged the oncoming vehicle, her dark hair whipping behind her as she landed gracefully. "Watch it, you clown," she called, though a hint of a smile betrayed her irritation. Meanwhile, Harold the Snake Jenkins appeared from the shadows, his shifty eyes narrowing at the unfolding chaos. "Perfect distraction," he muttered under his breath, slipping away to finalize one of his less-than-legal deals. The runaway cart finally crashed into a battered popcorn stand, sending buttery kernels flying into the air like confetti. Lulu tumbled out, landing in a heap, her painted smile cracking momentarily before she burst into peals of laughter. The townspeople, initially startled, began to chuckle. Children clapped, delighted by the unexpected spectacle. The tension eased, replaced by an awkward warmth that only the unpredictability of Lulu could summon. Later, at the town's annual community fair, the carnival set up a modest booth. Lulu, eager to redeem herself, prepared a pie-throwing actor, traditionally messy but beloved clown routine. As she loaded a whipped cream pie, her fellow performers watched with cautious optimism. "Remember, Lulu," Maggie cautioned, arms crossed. "Keep it controlled this time." "Controlled chaos, Mags," Lulu winked, balancing a pie in each hand. The act began innocuously enough, pies flying with measured aim at willing volunteers. Laughter bubbled up from the crowd as local children dodged and ducked, faces smudged with cream. But Lulu's exuberance got the better of her. A wild throw sent a pie arcing high into the air, landing squarely on the mayor's pristine jacket. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The mayor, a stern man known for his dislike of disorder, blinked in surprise before an unexpected grin spread across his face. "Well," he said, wiping cream from his lapel, "I suppose even I can enjoy a bit of mess now and then." Relief and laughter flooded the scene. Sal seized the moment, stepping forward with a theatrical bow. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Fool's Carnival brings joy, laughter, and the occasional pie to your fair town." Behind the scenes, Maggie pulled Lulu aside. "You're a whirlwind, you know that." "I prefer the term unstoppable force," Lulu quipped, flashing her childlike grin. "Just try not to bring the whole tent down next time," Maggie warned, though her tone softened. As dusk settled, the carnival's tents glowed with strings of multicolored lights, casting kaleidoscopic shadows on the dusty ground. Lulu, humbled but undaunted, performed a small juggling act, her movements hesitant at first, but gaining confidence. The crowd, now warmed to her unpredictable charm, applauded enthusiastically. Sal watched from the sidelines, breaking the fourth wall with a sardonic nod. Sometimes, he mused quietly, the best plan is no plan at all. Chaos is the currency of survival here, and Lulu, well, she's our richest asset. The scent of rain drifted in, promising renewal. The Fool's Carnival, battered but unbowed, danced on the edge of absurdity and hope, ready for whatever chaos the morrow might bring. The carnival was quieter than usual that evening, the usual hum of restless excitement dampened by the memory of Eddie's last catastrophic demonstration. The remains of the mechanical attraction lay half dismantled near the edge of the lot, parts scattered like forgotten dreams beneath the flickering light bulbs. But Eddie Collins was not a man easily defeated. He crouched beside the contraption, grease-streaked fingers working with a frantic precision that betrayed his mounting desperation. "Almost got it this time," he muttered to himself, voice barely audible over the low groan of the carnival's aging generators. His thick glasses glinted as he wiped a smudge of oil from the lens, eyes scanning every cog and lever, every spark of potential failure. The night air was thick with the scent of sawdust and stale popcorn, mingling with the sharp tints of machine oil and sweat. Inside the nearby tent, the troupe gathered in a loose circle. Sal Marconi stood at the center, his gaunt frame clad in the familiar patched ringmaster coat. His top hat sat slightly askew, shadowing eyes that burned with a stubborn fire. "All right, fools," he began, voice rich with sardonic warmth. "Tonight we get a second chance. Eddie's been burning the midnight oil, and I say we give him a damn shot. What's life without a little chaos, eh?" Maggie O'Hara folded her arms, eyebrow raised skeptically, but with a hint of softened resolve. "If we're doing this, we do it together. No more solo flights," she said, her tone sharp but genuine. Lulu, the clown, perched on a wooden crate nearby, clapped her oversized hands with childlike glee, her bright makeup almost glowing in the dim light. "I'll keep the crowd laughing no matter what." As the troupe rallied around Eddie, who now stood with a timid smile and slightly cleaner hands, the atmosphere shifted from anxious dread to cautious hope. The machine, though still a patchwork of mismatched parts and precarious wiring, gleamed under the carnival lights like a wounded beast ready to roar. The seconds stretched as Eddie flicked a switch. The contraption sputtered, coughed, then clanked to life. Gears turned unevenly, belts slipped, and sparks flew erratically, sending a shower of harmless but startling sparks into the air. The crowd, composed mostly of the troupe and a smattering of curious townspeople, held their breaths, eyes wide. Then, unexpectedly, the machine emitted a series of comical honks and whistles, its erratic movements causing a cascade of slapstick mishaps. Lulu, ever the showman, danced around the machine, turning its mechanical quirks into a performance. The crowd erupted into laughter, the sound rich and genuine, filling the worn tents with a warmth that felt almost foreign. Sal grinned, breaking the fourth wall with a sardonic glance toward the imaginary audience he often addressed silently. See, sometimes failure is just the first act of success, he quipped, voice low but triumphant. Backstage, Maggie caught Eddie's eye and offered a rare, soft smile. Maybe you're onto something, EC. Maybe this crazy thing can work, she admitted, her usual cynicism momentarily peeled away. The night deepened, the carnival tent alive with a renewed spirit. Though the invention was far from perfect, it had given them something priceless, a small victory, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, the Fool's Carnival could survive another day. And as the laughter echoed into the night, the troupe found themselves bound a little tighter by the shared absurdity and fragile triumph of their wild, wandering show. But beneath the smiles and cheers, the question lingered like a shadow. Could this fragile success hold against the relentless tide of failures and outside threats? Or was it simply another delightful, doomed episode in the carnival's chaotic saga? For now, the answer was less important than the joy of the moment, the bittersweet hope that kept the fools dancing on the edge of disaster, unwilling to give up the only dream they'd ever known. The night was far from over, and the carnival's story was just beginning to twist in new, unpredictable ways. The evening settled over the small town like a soft breath, the sun dipping behind the aging brick buildings with a reluctant grace. Outside the town hall, Sal Marconi stood in the cooling air, his gaunt frame silhouetted against the fading amber sky. His patched ringmaster coat fluttered weakly in the breeze, the fabric worn thin in places but steadfast as ever. He adjusted his top hat and took a deep breath, the scent of dust and distant popcorn mingling with the faint, sterile odor leaking from the polished glass doors before him. Inside, Victor Langford sat behind a gleaming mahogany desk that seemed to swallow the weak light of the room. His slick hair was impeccable, his suit a flawless cut of corporate ambition, and his smile as sharp and unsettling as ever. Sal could feel the cold sterility pressing against him from all sides. A world of order, profit, and shiny promises, so different from the ragged chaos of the Fool's Carnival. Mr. Langford, Sal began, his voice cutting through the silence like a whip crack. You say progress demands my carnival's demise, but what progress do you see in erasing the laughter from this town? Victor's smile didn't waver, but his eyes flickered briefly, a small crack in the polished facade. Mr. Marconi, the town needs growth, stability, and the kind of success that doesn't rely on smoke and mirrors. The Fool's Carnival is a relic, a distraction. My amusement park will bring jobs, revenue, and order. Order, Sal echoed, stepping closer, his voice now low but fierce. At what cost? You want to replace the absurd with the mundane, the unpredictable with the controlled. This carnival is more than a business, it's a family, a stubborn heartbeat in a world that wants to drown it out. Victor leaned forward, his smile tightening. Idealism is charming, but it doesn't pay the bills. Sal's eyes narrowed, sardonic as ever. Neither does your amusement park, at least not yet. The air between them crackled with tension, a battle of worlds colliding. The sound of distant laughter drifted faintly from the carnival grounds, a reminder of what was at stake. Meanwhile, back beneath the worn canvas of the main tent, the troupe gathered in a quiet corner, lit only by the flickering glow of a single lantern. Maggie O'Hara stood apart for a moment, her gaze fixed on the ground, fingers clenched tightly. The usual fire in her eyes was softened, shadows of old pain lurking beneath the surface. Sal and Eddie approached gently, sensing the fragile barrier she had erected around herself. "Mags," Sal said softly, "whatever you're holding in, we can handle it." She swallowed hard, the words catching in her throat. "I haven't told you all the story," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper, "about why I left. Why I run from everything that feels like family." Eddie adjusted his grease-stained glasses and offered a tentative smile. "You don't have to hide it here. We're all a mess in different ways." The carnival's distant sounds, the slapstick clatter of Lulu's pratfalls, the distant hum of a creaky ride wove around them like a protective cocoon. Maggie finally let the floodgates open, sharing memories of a harsh upbringing and the scars she carried. The vulnerability was raw, but in that shared space, something shifted. Outside the town hall, Victor's composed facade flickered again as Sal's relentless questioning chipped away at his certainty. "You once walked the very path you now seek to erase," Sal pressed, his voice softer but no less sharp. "You were a carnival child, weren't you?" Victor's jaw tightened, a flicker of old memories surfacing beneath the polished exterior. "That was a different life," he said quietly. "One I outgrew, or one you're trying to forget," Sal replied, voice heavy with understanding. "This carnival, these fools, they're your past's heartbeat. You can't just silence it with a check." The room held its breath, the clash of past and present swirling in the air like a storm ready to break. Back at the carnival, the troupe stood in a close circle, the lantern casting long, wavering shadows. Harold the Snake Jenkins cleared his throat, his usual slick demeanor replaced by something more sincere. "Look, I've made mistakes. I've put this family at risk for a quick buck, and I'm sorry." Lulu's bright laugh cut through the tension like sunshine. "Well, it's about time someone owned up." The group smiled, the fragile threads of trust weaving back together, stronger for the cracks they'd endured. Maggie placed a hand on Harold's shoulder, nodding. "We need each other, all of us." Sal stepped into the circle, breaking the fourth wall with a sardonic grin. "And so the fools gather, battered but unbroken, ready to face whatever absurdity tomorrow throws their way. Because that's what we do. We survive, we laugh, and we keep the show going." Outside, the night deepened, the carnival lights flickering like stubborn stars against the dark. The battle was far from over, but in this moment, hope gleamed bright, messy, chaotic, and utterly human. As the troupe dispersed to their corners, whispers of plans and quiet determination filled the air. Somewhere, the faint sound of Victor's city car engine hummed in the distance, a reminder that the fight was only just beginning. And so, with hearts both heavy and hopeful, the Fool's Carnival braced itself for the next act in this grand, absurd performance called life. The morning dawned with an uncharacteristic silence over the Fool's Carnival grounds. The usual cacophony of hammering, shouted instructions, and the clatter of carts had been replaced by a tense hush, broken only by the occasional rustle of canvas in the breeze. Sal Marconi surveyed the scene with a mix of hope and exhaustion. Today was meant to mark a turning point, the unveiling of their grandest attraction yet, under the largest tent they'd ever raised. For once, there was a faint glimmer of possibility shimmering among the ragged edges of their ragtag troupe. The tent itself, a monstrous patchwork of faded reds and yellows, had been painstakingly erected over the past 2 days. It loomed over the dusty lot, an emblem of their dreams and desperate hopes. Eddie Collins was tinkering nearby with the electrical rigging, his greasy fingers flicking switches and tightening loose bolts, humming a nervous tune that barely masked his anticipation. "Careful with that wiring," Easy Maggie called out from the perimeter, stretching her nimble limbs after a morning of hauling poles. "Last thing we need is a fire before the first show." Eddie waved her off with an absent-minded smile, completely absorbed in his work. "Relax, Mags. I've triple-checked everything. This baby's going to light up the night like a star." Across the lot, Lulu the clown bounced on her oversized shoes, juggling a set of rubber balls and clowning for a handful of curious town kids who had drifted near. Harold Jenkins lurked nearby, eyes flicking between the crowd and the cash box, always calculating. Sal adjusted his patched ringmaster coat and tapped his top hat, a ritual that usually steadied his nerves. He caught Maggie's eye and offered a reassuring grin. "This is it, gang. We've got one shot to show this town what the Fool's Carnival is really about." But fate, as it often did, had other plans. A sudden sharp crack echoed through the air, followed by a faint, sizzling sound. Eddie's head snapped up, eyes wide. "What the?" Before anyone could react, a spark leaped from a frayed wire tangled near the canvas edge. The fabric caught instantly, flames licking hungrily at the dry material. The fire spread with alarming speed, billowing smoke twisting into the sky like a dark, mocking banner. "Fire, fire, fire," Maggie screamed, dropping her tools and grabbing a bucket of water. The troupe erupted into frantic action, grabbing every available object to beat back the blaze tarp's buckets, even their own coats, but the fire was relentless. Sal's voice rose above the chaos, barked orders that barely cut through the crackling inferno. "Get the water, pull the hoses, don't let it reach the other tents." Lulu's cheerful antics vanished as she realized the gravity of the situation. Her laughter replaced by frantic shouts, she helped drag a soaked tarp toward the flames, but the fire's ferocity was overwhelming. Harold Jenkins cursed under his breath, his usual slick confidence replaced by genuine concern. The acrid smell of burning canvas and melted plastic filled the air, stinging eyes and choking lungs. Sal's face, usually animated with sardonic humor, was pale and tight with disbelief. The tent, their centerpiece, the symbol of their struggle and hope, was being devoured before their eyes. "No, no, no, no," Sal muttered, voice cracking. He stumbled forward, reaching for a length of scorched fabric as it fell. "This can't be happening." Maggie's eyes burned with tears and soot as she fought to suppress the rising panic. "We can't lose everything," she said fiercely, her voice raw. "We've come too far." Eddie, usually lost in his dreams and inventions, stood frozen, the weight of failure pressing down on him. I'm sorry," he whispered, voice barely audible over the roaring flames. The fire finally began to die down, leaving behind a smoldering skeleton of twisted poles and ruined canvas. The troupe gathered at the edge of the blackened ruin, exhaustion and despair settling over them like a heavy cloak. Sal stepped forward, clearing his throat. "All right, fools," he said, voice rough but resolute. "This is not the end. We still have a show to put on. We still have each other. We'll figure this out, because what else is there?" Maggie nodded, wiping her face with a grimy sleeve. "We'll make it work. Somehow, Harold," surprisingly sober, added, "We're a mess, sure. But we're still a family, and families don't quit." Lulu, cheeks smudged with soot, gave a shaky smile. "Let's turn this disaster into a new kind of circus. The flames may have devoured their main attraction, but the fire within the troop, their spirit, their absurd hope burned on. The carnival's dream was battered, but not broken. Together, they faced the darkened horizon, ready to improvise the impossible. And as the sun set behind the ruined tent, Sal's voice broke the silence once more. Sardonic yet sincere. "Well, fools, looks like the universe just handed us a new act. Let's not mess it up." The night was far from over, and so was their story. The morning dawned with an uncharacteristic silence over the Fools' Carnival grounds. The usual cacophony of hammering, shouted instructions, and the clatter of carts had been replaced by a tense hush, broken only by the occasional rustle of canvas in the breeze. Sal Marconi surveyed the scene with a mix of hope and exhaustion. Today was meant to mark a turning point, the unveiling of their grandest attraction yet, under the largest tent they'd ever raised. For once, there was a faint glimmer of possibility shimmering among the ragged edges of their ragtag troupe. The tent itself, a monstrous patchwork of faded reds and yellows, had been painstakingly erected over the past 2 days. It loomed over the dusty lot, an emblem of their dreams and desperate hopes. Eddie Collins was tinkering nearby with the electrical rigging, his greasy fingers flicking switches and tightening loose bolts, humming a nervous tune that barely masked his anticipation. "Careful with that wiring," Easy Maggie called out from the perimeter, stretching her nimble limbs after a morning of hauling poles. "Last thing we need is a fire before the first show." Eddie waved her off with an absent-minded smile, completely absorbed in his work. "Relax, Mags. I've triple-checked everything. This baby's going to light up the night like a star." Across the lot, Lulu the clown bounced on her oversized shoes, juggling a set of rubber balls and clowning for a handful of curious town kids who had drifted near. Harold Jenkins lurked nearby, eyes flicking between the crowd and the cash box, always calculating. Sal adjusted his patched ringmaster coat and tapped his top hat, a ritual that usually steadied his nerves. He caught Maggie's eye and offered a reassuring grin. "This is it, gang. We've got one shot to show this town what the Fool's Carnival is really about." But fate, as it often did, had other plans. A sudden sharp crack echoed through the air, followed by a faint sizzling sound. Eddie's head snapped up, eyes wide. "What the?" Before anyone could react, a spark leaped from a frayed wire tangled near the canvas edge. The fabric caught instantly, flames licking hungrily at the dry material. The fire spread with alarming speed, billowing smoke twisting into the sky like a dark, mocking banner. "Fire, fire, fire," Maggie screamed, dropping her tools and grabbing a bucket of water. The troop erupted into frantic action, grabbing every available object to beat back the blaze tarp's buckets, even their own coats, but the fire was relentless. Sal's voice rose above the chaos, barked orders that barely cut through the crackling inferno. "Get the water, pull the hoses, don't let it reach the other tents." Lulu's cheerful antics vanished as she realized the gravity of the situation. Her laughter replaced by frantic shouts, she helped drag a soaked tarp toward the flames, but the fire's ferocity was overwhelming. Harold Jenkins cursed under his breath, his usual slick confidence replaced by genuine concern. The acrid smell of burning canvas and melted plastic filled the air, stinging eyes and choking lungs. Sal's face, usually animated with sardonic humor, was pale and tight with disbelief. The tent, their centerpiece, the symbol of their struggle and hope, was being devoured before their eyes. "No, no, no, no," Sal muttered, voice cracking. He stumbled forward, reaching for a length of scorched fabric as it fell. "This can't be happening." Maggie's eyes burned with tears and soot as she fought to suppress the rising panic. "We can't lose everything," she said fiercely, her voice raw. "We've come too far." Eddie, usually lost in his dreams and inventions, stood frozen, the weight of failure pressing down on him. I'm sorry," he whispered, voice barely audible over the roaring flames. The fire finally began to die down, leaving behind a smoldering skeleton of twisted poles and ruined canvas. The troop gathered at the edge of the blackened ruin, exhaustion and despair settling over them like a heavy cloak. Sal stepped forward, clearing his throat. "All right, fools," he said, voice rough but resolute. "This is not the end. We still have a show to put on. We still have each other. We'll figure this out, because what else is there?" Maggie nodded, wiping her face with a grimy sleeve. "We'll make it work." Somehow, Harold, surprisingly sober, added, "We're a mess, sure. But we're still a family, and families don't quit." Lulu, cheeks smudged with soot, gave a shaky smile. "Let's turn this disaster into a new kind of circus." The flames may have devoured their main attraction, but the fire within the troop, their spirit, their absurd hope burned on. The carnival's dream was battered, but not broken. Together, they faced the darkened horizon, ready to improvise the impossible. And as the sun set behind the ruined tent, Sal's voice broke the silence once more. Sardonic yet sincere. "Well, fools, looks like the universe just handed us a new act. Let's not mess it up." The night was far from over, and so was their story. The morning after the fire, a thick haze of smoke still curled lazily over the smoldering remains of the main attraction tent. Charred canvas and broken poles lay tangled like defeated giants on the dusty earth. The air was heavy with the scent of burnt wood, mixed with the faint, lingering aroma of stale popcorn and sawdust, a reminder of what had been lost. Standing amid the ruin, Sal Marconi's tall, gaunt figure was a beacon of stubborn defiance. His patched ringmaster coat was dusted with ash, and his top hat sat slightly askew, but his eyes burned with that familiar, mischievous spark. "All right, fools," Sal announced, his voice ringing out over the rubble. "The show must go on. They may have taken our tent, but they haven't taken our spirit." Around him, the troop gathered, faces a medley of exhaustion, disbelief, and something else, the faintest glimmer of hope. Maggie O'Hara was already moving, flipping through her well-worn notebook filled with scribbles and half-formed plans. "We don't have a tent," she said bluntly, "but we've got people, talent, and whatever the hell is left in this mess." Her pragmatic tone cut through the gloom. "We'll rig up what we can. No grand illusions, just pure chaos, and maybe a little magic." Eddie Collins, clutching a greasy wrench and spectacles fogged with sweat, was already scurrying among the scattered props, clutching bits of metal and wire. "I can jury-rig something," he mumbled, eyes wide with frantic energy, "something that'll dazzle. Or at least, not explode this time." Lulu the clown bounced forward, oversized shoes thumping on the cracked ground. Her bright makeup was smudged, but her smile was infectious. "I'll keep em laughing," she promised, juggling a few battered pins as she wove through the group, occasionally knocking over a stray bucket or two. Chaos seemed to follow her like a shadow, but so did laughter. Harold Jenkins lurked near the fringes, slick hair glinting under the weak sun. His sharp eyes flickered with opportunistic calculations. "Maybe this is our chance," he whispered, "to clean up the books and get some real coin in the till." But even Harold's usual smooth confidence was tempered by the day's disaster. The troupe set to work, a flurry of motion and noise. Maggie directed the acrobats to practice routines on hastily erected scaffolds. Betty at the ticket booth counted the dwindling change with a worried frown, but kept her ledger close. Tommy, the gentle giant, lugged heavy equipment with surprising delicacy, his slow smile encouraging the others. Nina, draped in her mystical scarves, murmured cryptic encouragements, adding an eerie air of hope. As the sun climbed higher, the makeshift stage took shape beneath an open sky. There was no grand tent to shield them, no elaborate sets, just the raw, exposed earth and a scattering of colorful banners flapping in the breeze. The townspeople started to gather, drawn by curiosity more than expectation. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Lulu accidentally sent juggling pins skittering across the ground, eliciting an unexpected burst of laughter that broke the tension. Sal took a deep breath, stepping forward to address the tentative audience. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fool's Carnival, now featuring the world's first open-air, no tent, nothing to lose, extravaganza. His sardonic grin was met with chuckles. We're a little rough around the edges, he continued, but we guarantee you a night of chaos, comedy, and heart. So hold on to your hats, or what's left of M. The show began with a series of mishaps that might have been disasters anywhere else. Eddie's contraption sputtered and sparked, sending harmless bursts of smoke skyward, while Maggie's acrobatics included a few unexpected tumbles that became part of the act. Lulu's pratfalls grew wilder, her infectious laughter pulling the crowd in like a magnet. Harold slipped in and out of the shadows, orchestrating last-minute deals to keep the lights flickering and the music playing. Betty's quiet efficiency ensured tickets were sold fairly, and Tommy's steady presence helped steady the more nervous performers. Despite the slapstick failures, the troupe's chemistry was undeniable. Each blunder was met with quick wit and supportive cheers, turning potential disasters into shared triumphs. The townspeople, initially skeptical, found themselves drawn into the absurdity and warmth of the performance. Under the open sky, the Fool's Carnival reinvented itself, not as a polished spectacle, but as a heartfelt testament to resilience and ridiculousness. Laughter echoed through the twilight, mingling with cheers and applause. As the final act stumbled to its chaotic close, Sal broke the fourth wall one last time, winking at the crowd. "We may be fools," he said, voice rich with irony and affection, "but fools who never quit, and that's a show worth seeing." The crowd rose, clapping and whooping for more, caught up in the improbable magic of a carnival that refused to die. Behind the scenes, the troupe exchanged tired but triumphant smiles, battered, bruised, but unbroken. As the night deepened, the fire's shadow faded, replaced by something brighter, the enduring light of absurd yet heartfelt survival. And somewhere, just beyond the horizon, the road to the next town waited, promising new follies and fresh hopes. The Fool's Carnival was still alive, and still foolishly, wonderfully determined to keep the show going. But as Sal glanced up at the stars, a sardonic thought crossed his mind. Next time, maybe we build a fire extinguisher into the act. The laughter that followed was genuine, ringing out like a promise in the night. Under the flickering glow of mismatched lanterns and string lights, the Fool's Carnival prepared for what might be their last hurrah. The air was thick with a mingling scent of stale popcorn, sawdust, and the faint trace of smoke from the burnt tenter, reminder of the disaster that had nearly ended their dream. The makeshift stage was a patchwork of salvaged wood and frayed fabric, but to Sal Marconi, it was a throne from which to rally his ragtag family. Sal adjusted his top hat, its brim slightly bent from years of wear, and tugged at his patched ringmaster coat. His eyes scanned the gathering crowd, a scattering of curious townsfolk, some skeptical, others simply amused by the spectacle of a carnival that seemed to thrive on its own misfortune. With a sardonic grin, he stepped forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a clarion call. "Ladies and gentlemen, fools and knaves," Sal began, breaking the invisible fourth wall that had become his signature. "Welcome to the greatest show you'll never pay for. We may be ragged, we may be broke, but we're still here. And tonight, we show you what that means." A ripple of chuckles spread through the crowd, a small but vital spark of warmth in the chilly evening. Behind Sal, Maggie O'Hara stretched, her athletic frame poised like a coiled spring. She caught Sal's eye and gave a subtle nod. No matter how rough the night, they would dance on. The show kicked off with Maggie's aerial act. She climbed the shaky trapeze, rigged hastily between two poles, muscles taut and focused. The crowd gasped as she soared and swung, her silhouette cutting graceful arcs against the dimming sky. Below, Lulu the clown tumbled into a barrel of confetti, erupting in peals of infectious laughter. Her bright makeup and oversized shoes made her a beacon of joy, even as her antics threatened to send the entire setup into chaos. The sounds of slapstick collisions, laughter, and clapping filled the air, weaving a tapestry of absurdity and delight. Then came Eddie Collins, pushing forward his latest invention, clanking, flashing contraption designed to dazzle and amaze. But, predictably, it sputtered and sparked, sending out a puff of smoke that set the crowd gasping. Instead of despair, the troupe transformed the malfunction into a comedic routine. Eddie stumbled backward, bumping into Harold the Snake Jenkins, who threw his hands up with mock surprise. The two launched into an impromptu dance of mishaps, knocking over props and sending a cascade of juggling pins flying into the delighted audience. Harold, ever the hustler, seized the moment to distribute free tickets for the next show, a sly smile on his face that softened his usual shadiness. The crowd, caught between amusement and genuine affection, cheered louder than before. Throughout the performance, the troupe's imperfections became their strengths. Each stumble and misstep was met with laughter and applause, a celebration of their shared humanity and relentless spirit. Sal's voice rose again as the finale approached, his eyes glinting with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "Tonight," he said, "we are fools, yes, but fools who refuse to quit. This carnival isn't just a show, it's our family, our dream, and our defiance against a world that'd rather see us gone. So laugh with us, cry with us, and maybe, just maybe, believe with us." The audience erupted in applause, some wiping away tears, others laughing through their own bittersweet smiles. As the troupe took their bows, shoulders touching in a line of unity, the fragile thread of hope that held them together felt stronger than ever. Behind the scenes, Maggie exhaled deeply, her usual cynicism softened by the warmth surrounding her. Eddie, cheeks flushed with pride, exchanged a glance with Sal that spoke volumes. They had survived, if only for tonight. And Lulu, ever the heart of the carnival, tossed a final handful of confetti into the air, a sparkling shower over the fools who dared to dream. The night waned, but the spirit of the Fool's Carnival burned bright, a beacon of comedic hopefulness amidst the absurdity of their survival. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, they had one heart sand that was worth everything. Yet, as the crowd dispersed under a sky thick with stars, Sal's gaze drifted toward the horizon. The question lingered, could this fragile magic carry them forward? Or was this fleeting victory the last act of their long-running farce? Only time would tell, but for now, the show went on. The night had folded itself around the Fool's Carnival like a heavy velvet curtain, soft and dark, yet somehow comforting in its embrace. The crowds had melted away hours ago, their laughter and applause now just echoes bouncing between the battered tents and faded banners fluttering in the cool breeze. In the center of it all, beneath the skeletal remains of the main attraction tent, Sal stood alone, his tall, gaunt frame silhouetted by the distant glow of the town's street lamps. His patched ringmaster coat, frayed at the edges and stitched with care from countless past failures, fluttered slightly as he shifted his weight, eyes scanning the empty ring where so many hopes had danced and stumbled. "Well," Sal muttered to himself, a sardonic smile twitching at the corner of his mouth. Another day, another disaster avoided. Mostly, he let out a breath, the kind that carried both exhaustion and the stubborn ember of optimism that refused to die. The silence around him was thick, but it didn't feel like defeat, not quite. Behind him, a gentle shuffle of footsteps drew his attention. Maggie O'Hara approached, her usually fierce eyes softer than usual, the hard lines of cynicism cracked open just enough to let a flicker of something warmer shine through. She dropped down onto a nearby wooden crate, the one scarred by years of heavy use and too many hurried meals. Eddie Collins followed, his messy hair slightly tamed, thick glasses catching the faint light as he nervously toyed with a small mechanical bird. "You really think it'll fly?" Maggie asked, nodding toward Eddie's creation. Eddie looked up, cheeks flushing beneath the grease stains. "Not yet," he admitted, "but it's getting there. I've been working on the wing joints. If I can just get the timing right, maybe next time." Maggie's lips twitched into a rare, genuine smile. "Next time." The phrase hung between them like a fragile promise. Sal watched the exchange, a pang of warmth stirring in his chest. For all their bickering and bungled schemes, for all the chaos and calamity, these were the people who had stuck by him. The fools who kept the carnival's heart beating, even when the lights flickered and the tents threatened to collapse. From the shadows near the striped tents, Harold Jenkins, the so-called snake, leaned against a pole, his slicked-back hair catching the moonlight. His sharp eyes scanned the troop, a mixture of envy and regret clouding his expression. Clutched in his hand was a crumpled envelope filled with cash, his latest ill-gotten gains. He had crossed lines, betrayed trust, but tonight, watching the weary but unbroken faces of his companions, something inside him shifted. He stepped forward hesitantly, clearing his throat. I want to make things right," he said quietly, voice rough with uncertainty. "Not just for the money, but for you all." Lulu the clown, ever the embodiment of chaos and joy, twirled into the clearing, barefoot, her colorful patched costume smeared with dirt and her bright makeup slightly smeared. She hummed a whimsical tune, juggling invisible balls with a grace that belied her mischief. Her eyes sparkled with undiminished joy, a beacon in the dimming night. "Come on, everyone," she chirped, voice light and infectious. "The show's over, but the carnival's still alive." Her laughter was a bomb, drawing reluctant smiles from the troop. Even Sal found himself chuckling, the sound low and genuine. The night was far from perfect, the future uncertain, but in this moment, amid the wreckage and the quiet, there was something precious, the fragile, foolish hope that kept them moving forward. As dawn threatened the horizon, painting the sky with tentative shades of pink and gold, the troop gathered for a final huddle. Sal looked around at the tired, hopeful faces, feeling the weight of their shared struggle and the unspoken promise to face whatever came next together. "We're fools," he said, breaking the silence. "But we're our kind of fools. And sometimes, that's enough." Maggie nodded. Eddie adjusted his glasses with newfound determination. Harold tucked the envelope into his pocket with resolve, and Lulu twirled once more, laughter ringing out like a bell. Outside, the first birds began to sing. The carnival's tents were packed, the carts hitched, and the road ahead stretched uncertain but wide open. The Fool's Carnival was not finished yet, not by a long shot, and neither were they. Sal's reflections soon gave way to the practical, as the troupe moved through the stillness, packing away the remnants of their last show. The air smelled of burnt canvas and popcorn dust, mingling with the faint scent of rain that threatened to fall. Each movement was slow, deliberate, as if honoring the bittersweet memories etched into every creak of wood and pull of rope. Maggie lingered near the sideshow banners, the usual fire in her eyes softened to embers. She caught Sal's gaze and nodded. "Maybe we do have a shot," she said quietly. "Not because the world owes us one, but because we've earned it." Sal's smile deepened. "Earned it by falling flat on our faces." She shrugged with a grin. Exactly. Eddie, nearby, was already sketching ideas in the dirt with a stick, his fingers smudged with grease and dirt. "I've got new plans," he announced, voice brimming with cautious excitement. "Ideas that won't blow up the tent next time." Lulu skipped over, her oversized shoes thudding softly on the packed earth. "And I'll make sure the pies don't find their way to the mayor's face again. Probably." Harold remained quiet for a moment, then stepped forward. "I want to help," he said, eyes fixed on the ground before meeting Sal's. "No more schemes behind backs, if you'll have me." Sal studied him a beat, then nodded. "Welcome back, Snake." The troupe shared a look foolish, flawed, but fiercely united. The carnival might still be a mess, the future uncertain, and Victor Langford's shadow lurking on the horizon, but tonight they had each other. And sometimes, in the chaos of clowns and calamity, that was the greatest show of all. As the first light of morning stretched across the sky, Sal once again found himself breaking the fourth wall, a sardonic grin curling beneath his weary eyes. "They say the show must go on," he murmured to the empty ring, "and somehow, these fools keep making sure it does. Maybe that's the real magic. Or maybe it's just stubbornness." Either way, the carnival was alive, and so were they. The end was not yet written. The Fool's Carnival would roll on one misstep, one laugh, one disaster at a time. The early morning air was cool and sharp, wrapping the Fool's Carnival in a quiet embrace that felt almost sacred. The sun had barely breached the horizon when the troupe began their ritual, the dismantling of their beloved, battered carnival. It was a slow, deliberate process, each performer moving with the weary grace of those who knew this goodbye was not a victory lap, nor a celebration, but a necessity. The tents, once vibrant with color and promise, sagged beneath the weight of years and hard use, their canvas stained and frayed. Sal Marconi, tall and gaunt in his patched ringmaster coat and ever-present top hat, stood on the flatbed truck, overseeing the work with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. His eyes, sharp beneath the brim, flickered with sardonic asides, only he seemed to hear a silent commentary on the absurdity of their existence. "Another town, another chance," he muttered to himself, voice barely audible over the clatter of poles and flapping canvas. Maggie O'Hara, short and athletic, tied back her dark hair as she helped fold a particularly stubborn banner. Her sharp tongue was muted by the quiet dawn, replaced by a contemplative softness that surprised her own reflection in the cracked mirror of a nearby trailer. The struggles of the past weeks, the sabotage, the fires, the near disasters had chipped away at her cynicism, leaving behind a fragile shard of hope. Eddie Collins, the eccentric inventor, wiped grease from his thick glasses as he carefully packed away the remains of his latest contraption, a wild, mechanical oddity that had both thrilled and terrified the troupe. His dreams were no less grand, but his steps now carried the weight of hard-earned wisdom. Even Harold the Snake Jenkins, whose slicked back hair and shifty eyes often brought tension, moved with a quiet purpose, his usual schemes momentarily shelved in favor of the shared survival of the Carnival family. Lulu, the clown, ever the heart of the troupe, balanced a stack of colorful props with a precarious wobble. Her bright makeup, oversized shoes, and patched costume were a beacon of joy amidst the weariness. At one point, she tripped over a loose rope, sending a cascade of juggling pins tumbling to the ground. Instead of frustration, she erupted into infectious laughter, the sound rippling through the group and lifting spirits like a sudden burst of sunlight through grey clouds. Betty, the quiet ticket seller, moved efficiently among the trailers, her mysterious past a silent undercurrent to the hum of packing and goodbyes. Tommy, the gentle strongman, carefully lifted heavy crates with surprising delicacy, his slow-witted kindness a balm to the troupe's frayed nerves. Nina, the cryptic fortune-teller, watched the sunrise with theatrical flair, murmuring omens that mingled hope with realism. As the last tent was folded and stowed, Sal climbed once more onto the flatbed truck. He cleared his throat, drawing the attention of the tired troupe. His voice carried the familiar cadence of their endless journey, a wry smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Well, fools," he began, his tone equal parts sardonic and sincere. "We're not rich, we're not famous, and we've got more scars than applause, but we're still here, ready to chase the next horizon, to stumble into the next disaster, and maybe, just maybe, find a bit of glory in the chaos." The troupe gathered closer, the fatigue of months melting into a shared warmth. Maggie cracked a rare smile. Eddie nodded, eyes bright behind grease-streaked lenses. Lulu juggled a few pins effortlessly, a small performance just for them. Harold, for once, looked less like a snake and more like a weary but loyal friend. The caravan began to roll forward, the creak of wheels mingling with the morning birdsong. As the carnival faded into the distance, the troupe carried with them more than just their belongings. They carried the absurd, beautiful resilience of fools who refused to quit. The road ahead was uncertain, littered with the promise of mishaps and the glimmer of hope. And for the Fool's Carnival, that was enough. The show would go on. Somewhere, somehow, always. Sal's voice drifted back one last time, breaking the fourth wall with a grin. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this mad, miserable, magnificent ride. Until next time, keep your hats on and your hearts foolish." And with that, the carnival disappeared into the dawn, a patchwork of dreams and laughter chasing the endless horizon.